And thank you. Welcome everybody to our monthly webinar for the Columbia University Northern Plains Superfund Research Program. Today we are very excited. It's Earth Day, so it's really appropriate that we have with us our partner and colleague, Stephanie Crow, who is from the Lakota College. And our colleague Yoshira Van Horn is going to actually introduce our speaker, and we couldn't have a better topic for today. So thank you, Yoshi.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm gonna just actually read the bio that Stephanie Crow sent us to us, and I'd like to say very much thank you for her and her time today. Annie and I met Stephanie through the ERP program that we run with the high school students in South Dakota. And one of the high school teachers there, Dan, he really wanted to bring on Stephanie as an additional teacher to the students there, particularly to get a lot of the traditional teachings on the Lakota way, and particularly how working with medicinal plants. And so we were just so wonderful and delighted, and all of the words that can then come to mind when she agreed to be part of the program. And since then, we've very much I've also wanted other people to just hear her speak, and her teachings, and just all the wonderful love and knowledge that she's able to bring to anyone that meets her. And so I will read off the bio and then just hand it off to Stephanie, because I tend to sometimes be a little long-winded. So Stephanie's bio says that she resides in Pine Ridge Indian Reservation for the majority of her life, and is from a small town called Little Wound, formerly known as Kyle, South Dakota. She was raised and adopted by her maternal grandparents, and she currently resides in the land where she was raised with her daughter. She's an adjunct instructor at Oglala Lakota College. She's a cultural bearer, helper, carrier of the wisdom of her grandmother, grandfathers, and ancestors. She shares cultural teachings that have been taught by her grandparents with the communities that she serves. She lives cultural life ways daily, and continues her connection with the environment and ecosystem. And she always keeps in mind her cultural identity and cultural diversity and cultural integrity. And so she's humbled to be part of this and constantly grow. And so she also, her cultural preservation endeavors share cultural elements, as well as bridging the gap between Western views of education and science. And so without further ado, Stephanie Crow.
Good evening, relatives. My name is Stephanie Crow. My Lakota name is Ishnama Kaglakia Maniwi, which translates to "Woman Walks Across Earth Alone." And there's a history to that name, so I'm very honored to carry that name. I reside here on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation my whole life with my grandparents. I was very fortunate to be raised by my grandmother and my grandfather. My grandmother, she was a very valued member of our community. She was considered a medicine woman, a spiritual helper. So I am very fortunate to grow up in her presence and to be able to gain some of her knowledge of the plant life. We don't really call it plant life, we call them relatives. We view everything on Grandmother Earth as relatives. So anywhere from our water to our plant life, our trees, all the elements are relatives to us. So we make that daily homage, and we keep that honorary respect with, everything that we utilize during our day, throughout our day. So I was very fortunate to have that understanding and that teaching from my grandmother. I just consider myself a helper. I think I've been that way the majority of my life, and I've spent the majority of my life outdoors with my grandmother, and her life was always connecting with the earth, and especially today, sharing this sharing this brief knowledge with you. Today being recognized as Earth Day, you know, caring for Grandmother Earth and making sure that we keep our our balance with the ecosystem and we're not taking more than we need because, you know, we not only us as human beings utilize Grandmother Earth, but so does our animal relatives, you know, our birds, everything that lives above Grandmother Earth. We utilize Grandmother Earth in some way, shape, or form. So, um, you know, I'm just very fortunate to have those teachings of my grandmother. Right now I'm sitting in my vehicle. I live in a valley and the internet is really horrible in that valley sometimes. So I had to come up on the hill where we live to get on Zoom and spend my time today with you guys, to be with my relatives. I don't view other people as, you know, people, individuals. Through my grandmother's teachings, I view all of you as my relatives, even though I don't know you. You know, we make that kinship connection with everybody that we meet so that we have that understanding and that respect, and we keep that humility of ourselves to remember that, you know, it's not always about us, you know, it's always about all of us together coexisting within this ecosystem that we have. So just to share a little of that. Um, I do have one daughter and she's gonna be 14 years old this June. So I've also tried to incorporate and instill with her, you know, the value of earth and everything that earth provides, not only in the Western view, but also to keep our cultural connection to the earth and to always carry that respect amongst ourselves. Um, my ancestral bloodlines, I have a Northern Cheyenne bloodlines. We have 7 campfires, what we call the Ocheti Shakoni here in South Dakota. So I have a tribal affiliation with Cheyenne River, Rosebud Sioux Tribe, and Oglala Sioux Tribe. My grandparents through the bloodlines believe that we shouldn't marry within our own camp because we're all related. So the relatives would do these social gatherings during the summertime with other camps, and they would then do the courting and make sure we made those connections with other tribes so that we're not intermingling with our bloodlines. So that was a teaching that we have. So I always tell my daughter, you know, be very respectful of your relatives because you're related to everybody within South Dakota and the surrounding Montana area. So, you know, be very careful how you greet your relatives and who you choose to be with in the future. But yeah, there's just a lot of cultural values that we carry in caring for Grandmother Earth. And I was very fortunate last summer to meet with some of the Columbia University staff members to do cultural teachings with some of our local teachers here. I was able to pair up with one of our research people, Dan Sneeden. He's a high school instructor at Little One School. And he kindly asked me to come aboard and to help some of the students with the cultural knowledge with the plants. And one of the topics that the students chose was the plant metals, what metals that were inside the plants. And you know that's kind of a serious topic for me as well because I utilize the plant relatives on a daily basis. So where we live, I've seen a lot of climate and environmental change over the years where there was a lot of plants that we utilize for medicines and spiritual use that unfortunately do not grow anymore. So, you know, with the change of the environment, you know, I'm curious myself, and for my future generations to know how our soil life is, how our plant life is growing, to make sure that you know that we do things in a good way so that we sustain plant life for future use, for future cultural use, medicinal use, spiritual use, and what have you. So, we had to get authorization from our tribe, of course, but I was so very humbled and honored to have high school students come out to our land and, you know, to do the proper protocol and the proper respect of extracting our plant relatives to take for data collection. And we always have to remember that when we take something from Grandmother Earth, we have to make sure we have that respect as, Indigenous people are, relatives in general, to not take more than we need and to make it known to the powers that be that we're utilizing these plant life for our knowledge and also for the knowledge of preserving Grandmother Earth and these plant relatives that we utilize on a daily basis. So it was a really great, humbling experience to have the students come out on our land out here and, checking these vital plant life that we utilize and just making sure that, taking these plants and testing them and making sure that, there's not too much toxic metals inside of our plant life. So where if it's really dangerous for us to consume, then, maybe us consuming these plants is making us sick and we do not know. So, I wanted to know um, the biological portion of these plants because all that I've ever known was the cultural intent, the spiritual use of the plants, and how that they help to cure us when we have ailments, when we're sick. But because of climate change and the environmental change, I don't know what the rainwater is bringing. I do not know what's also mixed in with our water elements that fall from the sky to nourish our plant life. So, it was just wanting to know um, how we can do scientifically with Western science and knowledge to figure out what's inside these plants, what components are inside there that could possibly make us sick, or what other nourishing metals are inside these plants that could also help us in the long run. So. It was really nice to spend time with the students to hear, their cultural views, their Western views of science and how to incorporate that back into what they were doing and what they were researching. So it was really nice to also see that different perspective of the Western science alongside the cultural science and the historical content of why we do the things the way we do. So it was pretty nice to just be a part of something really beautiful that Columbia University did with our students here, our local students. And it was really nice to see them open their minds and see that there's more opportunities for them to do research, within our communities to help our relatives here because here on our reservations, we don't have much economic development or much economic promise for our younger relatives. So it's really good to have these outreach programs, these outreach research programs, because it gives our younger relatives a better perspective of what could possibly happen for them if they open that door and take that step inside that door and look beyond what we have here on the reservation. So that was really nice, and I really appreciate Columbia University for doing that for them. It's just seeing things happen in the now that can help us in the future. So that was a beautiful bridge and a beautiful connection to make. So today, I actually thought this was really good to come out here to the land where my grandmother and I call this my playground. The land back here where we utilize, there's so much plant life here. There's so much knowledge here. This is my library and my playground. And so during spring and summertime, I bring my daughter and my kids out here, my nieces and nephews, and just show them, just the beautiful relatives and making those connections, for their own body, mind, and spirit and making that balance. So, it's really peaceful to just come back out here and just sit within the land and, just have peace of mind and just breathe. And especially today being Earth Day, recognizes Earth Day, it's just really nice to be out here and just to sit and to breathe and just, developing ideas of what we can do this summer and, all the possibilities of all the more plant life that we can kind of research and look at and see what else we can do with them. But I wanted to show you guys just what did I do? I think. Oh, there you go. So this is kind of where, sorry, it's a little bit windy out here. This is my playground out here. This is my living library. So this is where some of our students came. I also do like a lot of other cultural preservation with some of our high school students, some of the students at Lakota College. We come out here and we just talk about plant life, what time of the season the plants grow, letting them experience the land, letting them make that connection with the land, letting them get a feel of, you know, how Grandmother Earth operates and just the beauty that she provides to us for free. You know, all these living beautiful beings out here, our beautiful bird relatives, you know, everything out here that is living, you know, we always with each other within this ecosystem, and you know, we make beautiful things happen together. So it's just always remembering that balance, keep that harmony, and just remembering that, you know, Grandmother Earth comes first. So take extra care with her and make sure she's sustainable for many, many years to come. So this is where my grandmother would come, until her team. We would come out here and we would gather her plants and get everything harvested and preserved for the winter months that were coming. Just get things ready, you know, just be prepared for whatever was coming, sicknesses, illnesses during the inclement weather months. So yeah, this is my playground out here, my my living library. So yeah, just to share that much with you, and just really happy to be here with all of you today, and just share that cultural experience. I also really value everything that we do out here in this living library, because I do have a autoimmune illness, and I really do depend on these plants. You know, I can't go a day without having my tea. I can't go a day without having my routine of plant medicines. So I make sure that what we're doing out here, we do it respectfully and honorably, and doing it in a good way, so that, you know, these plant relatives will help sustain me to keep me going, because, you know, I really dislike, you know, taking Western pharmaceutical medicine, because it has so much side effects with it, and it's really hard to carry that weight of that medicine at times. So, you know, just utilizing our plant relatives, our plant life here that grows seasonally, that I depend on for my medicine, for my health and well-being. You know, I have to make sure that they're healthy, they're well, making sure that, you know, they're growing in a good way, they're not being contaminated. Um, it's just keeping that respect and that connection, because, you know, there's so much beautiful, powerful elements out here that we can utilize to help ourselves, to heal ourselves. So I really depend on this way of life, our culture. And it's also, you know, giving back to our relatives that want to know, that want to learn, and, you know, just being respectful of Grandmother Earth and all that she provides. So so yeah, you know, just living out here, you know, you always hear like a lot of negative things about our reservations, and how, you know, things are not going good, and, you know, there's a lot of disparity. But, you know, for me, I always look at the positive side of everything. You know, our reservations are so beautiful, they're so rich with culture. They just provide so much for us. It's, you know, it's just us as individuals that have to get up and go out and experience everything that Grandmother Earth has to provide for us. And, you know, especially for our students, you know, our young relatives, to come out and experience that as well, and get their hands dirty, and, you know, just make those connections with the earth, and just learning, you know, learning from this living library and everything. And, you know, it's so good. You know, every day is a learning process for us out here when we walk across Grandmother Earth, and We learn about new plant life. We learn about, you know, certain things, the diversity of everything, the bio chemistry of everything, how the soils, how the wind, the water, how everything makes everything grow, and just the science of it, you know. Everything is just so beautiful, and it all works its own divine intervention, I guess. So yeah, so I really enjoyed being a part of something that's bigger than me, and helping our Western world understand, you know, the cultural component of it. You know, we carry so much honor for all of our relatives, you know, and that's why I address everybody that I meet as my relative. I don't see anything else other than that. You know, you're my relative in some way, shape, or form. You know, maybe we'll cross paths, maybe we will not. Either way, you know, we make those kinship connections, and regardless of who you are and where you are, you know, you're my relative, just like everything else here on Grandmother Earth is a relative to me. And it's just having that, carrying that honor and that respect for everything. So I don't know if you guys have questions for me. I know it looks like people have questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all the messages that you are giving us today, which I think we need them. We need these messages to give us hope in the world, in humanity, in us realizing we are not the single one, the best one, but we are really part of this important ecosystem, and we are only one more piece. So thank you. I think we really, really needed these messages today.
Mm-hmm.
And we should open this up, yeah, for discussion, comments, if people would like to share something that you've been inspired by listening to Stephanie, or a question that you would like to ask Stephanie, please raise your hand or just speak up. Yeah. I would like to start with something that I was thinking, Stephanie, as you were talking in the scientific world. We are trained and pushed to have big egos. You need to be a big scientist. You need to have independent research. You need to be the only one. You need to be able to, you know, we are pushing these huge, very forceful ways, which, you know, make us competitive, and maybe in one end might help with some aspects of the science we do. But at the same time, it's really challenging, because this other way of thinking, of being collaborative, of thinking that you are not the one, thinking that this is a huge effort with so many others being involved, and with others being our relatives and doing this together. It's really critical for us to be able to do really high quality and respectful and truly breakthrough science and new ways of science. So to me, your messages are very inspiring, because I think in the scientific world, we are really pushed to think in selfish ways,
Mm-hmm.
which I think it's so humbling for us to be in contact with you, with the communities, and to be able to inspire that connection that you mentioned. And sometimes we think of knowledge, but the emotional aspects are extremely important for us to really feel the connection with the world, with the people, in the places that we are, and that we are interacting and working together. And so I am thankful to you today for bringing those issues to us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I always try to tell like my relatives, everybody that I meet, that, you know, Grandmother Earth is a living being, and all the elements that she has given to us so freely. You know, our water, we consider that a relative. We're very respectful of our relative, the water, because without water, we cannot live. Our plant life cannot live, our animals cannot live, our ecosystem cannot live. So we make those proper connections of treating everything as a relative. as in the Western worldview, everything that is on the earth is a commodity, and it's utilized as they want to utilize it, profit, to do whatever they want to do with whatever they will with it, to make sure that things are sustainable for them, that it can be sustainable in the long run. But for us, that indigenous thinking, that cultural thinking of, these are our relatives and we can't treat them as such. We are respectful of them because they sustain our life. And if you take everything that is a commodity from these relatives, then what do we have left in the future? We have nothing. There will be nothing there. Everything will be toxic. Our environment will not be bad, will be very bad. Our oxygen will be gone. Our water will be gone. So, it's just taking all necessary protocol and respect to make sure that we do our part as Indigenous people, and, as you guys as relatives, even something as small as doing recycling, doing something small as not consuming as much as you need to and only taking what you need, just to help sustain life, just thinking in that view, that kind of diverse view of, making sure that you kind of do your part as well, even though you're one individual. And yeah, science does push for, my way is better. I'm the one, I found this, I'm doing this. So this is my research. I did this, I'm the one. And, hey, but it can't always be like that. We have to keep in mind that we have to be respectful of what we're doing, because it can be easily taken away from us and it'll be gone. You'll have it one day and it'll be gone the next. So it's just being respectful and mindful of what you're doing and what you're researching. And, always, for us, it's always asking permission. When we take something from Grandmother Earth, it's, making that connection and making that prayer and telling our grandmother, we're going to take this relative for what needs we have. And we're very thankful for you for providing this for us. And we are going to be respectful of this relative and use it in a good way, because I need this relative to help me in a good way and not abuse it. So these are the connections that we make with Grandmother Earth. And it might not mean much to some of you, but when we make that spiritual connection with our relative, that emotional connection for our own mental health and well-being, it's a lot. It's a healing. So just making small, simple connections, it's profound. It's very profound.
Yes. Brandon, please. Yeah.
Thank you, Stephanie. My name is Brandon. Something you were saying a few moments ago was really jumped out at me, which is sort of the exploitative nature of sort of the Western view on resources, as opposed to like, kinship and relatives. And, you said something which was like, be careful with that, because once it's gone, it's gone. And something you were saying earlier that sort of reflected the fact that you said that, with climate change, you're seeing some of the natural world relatives like changing distribution and going away. So I don't necessarily have a question about that, but I just wanted to, that's alarming and concerning to hear that, these are resources and, items used for spiritual, and cultural practices, but also for health and well-being practices, and then perhaps they're going away. So again, I don't necessarily have a specific question about that, but it's just very concerning and alarming to hear.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we do have several plants that my grandmothers, they down the bloodline, they were all considered medicine women. And some of these plants that my grandmother utilized, from being a little kid, 20, 30, 40 years ago, these plants are non-existent anymore. I do not see them, as much as my relatives and I have canvassed this whole land base, going to different parts of our reservation to look for these plants in the creek system, within our stream system, our waterways. These plants are gone. We're not able to find them. So yeah, climate change, I don't know what is necessarily seriously happening with our environment, environment, but a lot of our plant life that our relatives that we utilize are going away. And I haven't found a balance to them. I go to our local staple and spice store here in Rapid City where they carry different teas, and I have not been able to make that same connection with that tea anywhere. So, it's saddening that this is happening to our plant life, our plant relatives. They're just going away. So, we're trying to do what we can to preserve what we can.
Thank you for those efforts. And I see Lauren Clown also left a message from United Tribes Technical College. Lauren, I don't know if you are still here and you would like to say hello and maybe also share with us some of your work, or you commented, you thank Stephanie. I don't know if you have any question or comment for her, but thank you for joining us. Anybody else who would like to share something, either some, where you are from, or something that inspired you from Stephanie's comment, or a question for Stephanie?
I have a comment, Stephanie, or question and comment. So I've been lucky to work with the Earth program with Missouri Breaks in its pilot year, and we're excited to continue on and working with Stephanie and Little Wound School as well this coming summer with students. I do remember getting approval from the Oglala Sioux Tribe Research Review Board. There were some very poignant comments about asking the elders for their knowledge and including them in our research protocol, spending time and seeking their guidance. And you've been instrumental in helping with that as well. But for the researchers that may not be as familiar with Lakota traditions, could you explain a little bit just how important that step is and how to make that connection if you would like to do, for example, a project with students collecting traditional plants and medicines, or working with environmental samples in some way as a researcher, right? Many of us know to submit to the research review board or our institutional review boards, but could you just share a little bit about how to connect with elders and local committees on this process, and including them in the process and indeed in the protocol?
Sure. So here on our reservation, I've known a lot of times in the past, different research programs would come in and they would take research data from our homelands and they would be exploited. So, now we have a review board in place that we have to get authorization from, even for us as, landowners that want to utilize our land and do projects like this and researching with, our local schools, our students and what have you. We have to get authorization from them, letting them know that, we're doing something to help benefit our people in a good way. We're going to utilize this data in a good way so that it's not being exploited. We're carefully taking from Grandmother Earth with the protocol. And I think that's really big for a lot of our relatives, our elder relatives, because, this plant life, the outside world doesn't really see our plant life as relatives. They do not see Earth as a relative. That's our grandmother, and how we would treat our own living, breathing grandmother is how we would treat Grandmother Earth, with that kindness and that respect and having that compassion. So a lot of our elder relatives are really kind of on the fence about letting outside people come in to do research, because of what happened in the past, or we don't have a really good history with things that happened in the past where people came in and just took everything from the earth and exploited it and started making medicines of their own and started utilizing our traditional foods and plants to profit and, you know, gain from it on their own from the research that they collected here without, you know, giving the proper respect, you know, the credit where credit is due, and not acknowledging the relatives that put in the time, the effort, and showing these relatives how to take care of these things that they took from us, this data. So now that these things are in place, you know, it's really important to some of the elders won't really jump into what you're doing unless you really explain to them how, the where, the when, the why, the what, and the how of what you are doing, because they do not want to get exploited. They don't want our precious resources to disappear and go away and just to be played with, because they have value to us. They're our relatives, and we don't want that to happen. So whenever we make these connections with, we get approval from the research board, we have these researchers come in to help us, you know, collect data for the plant relatives, to make sure that they're sustainable for us. And having these relatives that want to be a part of it to come in and share their knowledge as well, because, you know, each of our family units, our extended family, we all carry different creation stories. We all carry different views of how to utilize these medicines, because these plant relatives have many properties. There's a plethora of uses for these plant relatives. So this elder relative that comes might share something about our sage that I didn't know. So, you know, the more information that we gather for our plant relatives, for the uses of them, you know, that's really important for our elder relatives to participate. So it's always being truthful, it's always being honest, and always explaining what you are doing, and that we are utilizing these for the educational purpose of understanding what these plant relatives are doing for us. And now in the present time, you know, with all the contamination that's happening, you know, I want to make sure that these plant relatives are able to be used for edible consumption, spiritual consumption, and, you know, medicinal properties, and that they're not, as we are utilizing them, they're not harming us in some way, shape, or form. For me, it's more of a proactive way to look at how am I going to preserve this plant and make sure that it's not contaminating my relatives, that it's not going to make me sicker if there's more toxic metals in this plant than medicinal properties. So, you know, it's just always explaining and always putting all the cards on the table and not doing something shady behind the scenes, because our elder relatives really do not like that, you know. So it's just being truthful and honest and walking that straight line and making sure that we're letting them know everything that we are doing and inviting them to come and help and be a part of something really beautiful, and, you know, sharing their knowledge as well, because a lot of our elders are passing away, and that knowledge that they carry goes with them. They're not able to share because, you know, they're afraid to share. So when we explain something in a good way, in a compassionate manner, then they're able to understand and share and be a part of something beautiful that's going to be sustainable for our relatives in the future. So I hope that explains what you were asking, Rand.
Yes, very nice. Thank you. As what I'm hearing is a bridge between tradition and contemporary research to find ways to build that bridge respectfully, honoring the elders' wisdom, but also the fact that, as Lakota say, we are all related, right? Mitakiwe Owasin.
Yes.
It's not just we are all related as human beings, but all the living beings, correct? And
Yes,
so
yes.
taking a plant and putting it in a bag for a measurement, we are taking a relative, you know, and so to ask for that consent from the earth and from the elders is an important step. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Good. Any other question, comment? It's such a real privilege privilege for us to have you with us today, Stephanie, because as we are engaged in scientific activities, and we have so many different priorities, sometimes conflicting, and sometimes we forget the essential of why we are doing certain things, and you really help us keep us really grounded on really what's the most important. And that's, it's so extremely valuable. So I feel it's a real privilege to have you with us today, and also for you to make that effort to go to the place where there is a good internet reception, and where you can show us the beauty of the world there, the beauty that you see. We are here, most of us, in urban environments that, we see buildings and streets. Some might have a beautiful outdoor scene that you might be able to see. But no matter what, even our urban environments, I think we need to respect them also. And you really bring us to think about what's really important. So I feel this was really what we needed for our webinar today. Any comments? Anything else? Because I don't want to take extra time from you, Stephanie, either. But if I would not want, if somebody wants to share something else, maybe Ray, because I see your picture.
Hi, Stephanie. I'm Ray O'Leary. I'm on the Shannon River Reservation here at our Missouri Breaks office, and I've been working closely with all of the colleagues from Columbia University, and I just want to thank you for all of these amazing stories and the wisdom that you've been able to share from your grandmother's teachings. These are things that I'm learning as we go, and like trying to advocate for our Lakota communities to work with the research partners in a good way. So it's just really nice to hear it from your perspective. And yeah, I just want to say Pulamayaye for your thoughts.
Thank you, Wopila.
And also, we want to wish you all the best for the continuation of the Earth program. That's very exciting that you are restarting again very soon, as the students are finishing their school year and engaging in summer activities. It's so wonderful because you make it fun and emotional. I think something that we forget with children, especially, or with with youth, is that, if you make it just thinking about the knowledge, it's not going to excite them. And I can see that with my own children. They can think that science is boring or tedious. And we need to respect that they are young. And at those young ages, it needs to be about the fun and the emotional aspects that you need to, the connection, making that connection and loving the earth. It's so much more important than understanding it or knowing how it works. And so I think it's particularly important for these programs, for summer programs, because in the summer, children should have fun above all. And so and thank you so much for making it possible for them to do it in that way. And all the best. Yes.
So before I leave you guys today, I know you guys probably stuck in your office all day long, and you guys don't be able to go outside and experience this beautiful earth we have and everything that she provides for us. Our relatives have been doing this for millennials. We've been doing this for forever. And it's just taking a glass of water or some water with you, going outside, taking your shoes off and putting your feet into the earth and making that connection, and just making that balance between your body, your mind, and your spirit with the earth and the elements of your water, and speaking good things into this water, and then consuming that water, just for a few minutes. And, we've been doing this as a spiritual practice for forever, but now science calls it earthing, grounding. So take some time, a few seconds, a few minutes, go outside and ground yourself back into the earth, especially today being at Earth Day. Find yourself, find your balance, and just be thankful for everything that grandmother provides for you. everything that she does for you, for your shelter, your food, your water, just everything beautiful that she freely gives of herself. You know, we don't ask her to give me this or do this, you know, she just freely, compassionately gives it to us. So make those connections with your relatives, and remember, you're feeling lost. Remember, you come from somewhere. You come from a family. You come from a tree that's deeply enrooted into the earth. So just always remember you're connected. You're a relative. Never forget who you are. Keep your head up. Keep moving forward, and just remember to always look at things on the brighter side of, you know, these are our relatives. You know, just be respectful of Grandmother Earth, and all will be well.
Thank
All will
you.
be well.
Thank you. And with this, we can end this webinar. Thank you so much. Thank you. See you
Thank
next
you.
month.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great day,
You guys all have a
everyone.
good day.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie, so much. This was really very important for us today. We are having some difficult challenges time here at Columbia in the last few weeks, and I think your perspective is so important. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.